Well, we continue to follow developing news out of Northeast Albuquerque, where there has been another officer-involved shooting involving APD. Our Matt is south of I-40. You've been following the situation for a while now, Matt, and you've learned that this actually involves a woman, an attacker, and a Good Samaritan.
Yes, that is absolutely right, Elizabeth. We'll get to that part in just a minute, but I want to let you know that 2nd Street here is cleared. Investigators were out here in the middle of this intersection at 2nd and I-40. They were here up until about 5 o'clock this morning because this is where that deadly shooting happened. Now, this is what Deputy Police Chief William Roseman told us. It started about 9:30 last night, just north of here across the interstate. There's a strip mall, there's a liquor store, and a Family Dollar. That is where police say that a man was attacking a woman. That's when the deputy chief says a Good Samaritan jumped in, tried to help that woman out. And that's when the deputy chief says a man pulled out a knife and slashed the Good Samaritan's throat. At that point, a lot more Albuquerque police officers rushed down here. The deputy chief says that officers tried to de-escalate the situation, but he says the man would not put down that knife and he kept advancing toward police. That is when 2 officers opened fire, shooting and killing the man.
A sergeant was on scene at the time and was attempting to deploy with less lethal munition. The Good Samaritan is in critical condition at this time. The female was treated and released. At this time, the male offender is deceased. And that's all.
A Deputy Chief Roseman would not tell us the name of the man who was shot and killed. He would also not tell us the names of the officers involved in this. Now, back out here live, again, at 2nd and I-40, I want to show you something. Again, in the middle of this intersection on the frontage road, that is where the deadly shooting happened. Now, about 50 yards away, it's across 2nd. You go through this chain link fence. There is the H&D Equipment Services. Earlier today, I talked with a gentleman who works here, and he showed me 2 bullet holes of where he says officers told him shots that were fired missed. One of them went through. The gentleman who works here told me officers recovered that bullet casing. He's not sure about the other one. Now, 2 important things to note here. You heard the deputy chief say that there was a sergeant here who is trying to get out and use less than lethal force. We do not know exactly what happened with that. The deputy chief says it is a very preliminary investigation and preliminary report right now. And I want you to know, we also specifically asked Deputy Chief Roseman if Albuquerque police officers involved in this had their lapel cameras turned on and there was video of this shooting. He did not answer that question. In fact, he didn't answer any questions earlier this morning. Police Chief Gordon Eden was out here. He did not talk with any of the media. He did not take questions. He was out here just investigating and talking with the officers here. And again, 2nd Street is back open this morning. We're hoping to get an update from APD a little bit later today. And as soon as we learn more, we'll pass it along to you. Elizabeth?
All right, Matt, thank you for bringing us up to speed. Appreciate it. By the way, this is the 3rd officer-involved shooting since the scathing Department of Justice report came out on April 10th about the culture of violence within APD. This is the 36th officer-involved shooting by APD since 2010, including this latest one. 26 have turned deadly. Count on KRQE for full coverage on all the developments of Albuquerque's latest officer-involved shooting and the community reaction it generates. We will have more today at noon and, of course, online at krqe.com. The intersection of Central and Broadway is now back open this morning following a crash that resulted in a fuel leak on the streets of Broadway just south of Central. That area was shut down as a result of the crash from this morning, but police have advised us that it is now back open. Overnight, Albuquerque police arrested a man wanted in connection with a homicide just shy of midnight. Cops got a call about a suspicious man looking at some cars in the southwest part of Albuquerque. Officers say when one of them arrived, the men appeared to be nervous. They discovered that he is 40-year-old Javier Rosales. He was wanted for a probation violation. Police say Rosales took off on foot. They used canines and set up a perimeter. Cops found him hiding in a shed. He's accused of shooting 31-year-old Joseph Hernandez to death back in December of 2009. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Department is looking for 3 men who stole from a Santa Fe home Thursday morning, but this was no ordinary burglary. Deputies say the thieves actually tied up an elderly woman who was inside the home and then ended up taking off with a large amount of cash. Talk about a frightening ordeal for her.
They bound her and they proceeded to ransack the residence looking for items.
Well, the woman managed to free herself enough to call 911. The sheriff's department says they're also looking into whether the thieves may have known there was a large amount of cash in that home. And Albuquerque Isotopes catcher is no longer on the team this morning, just days after he bit off part of his teammate's ear. We told you about this week. The fight between Miguel Olivo and infielder Alex Guerrero. It started during a pitching change on the mound at a game in Salt Lake City. Now the fight continued in the dugout during the 8th inning. Olivo punched Guerrero, then bit his ear, part of it off. Apparently, Olivo has talked about biting in the past. In an interview with Telemundo 51 in Miami, a reporter here asks him what he would have done had he not gone into baseball. Olivo said he would have been a boxer like Mike Tyson.
¿Como quién, por ejemplo? ¿Como qué tipo?
Mike Tyson.
Como Mike Tyson, o sea, pero sin morder oreja.
No, sin morder las orejas.
Well, this isn't Olivo's first run-in during a game. While playing for the Marlins, he went after Jose Reyes in 2007. This is video caught by a fan of the aftermath. The Dodgers say Guerrero remains in a Salt Lake City hospital recovering from reconstructive surgery. This is interesting. Breathalyzer machines are popping up in Albuquerque bars so drinkers can see how much they've had. Daniel Barfield has installed 8 of these breathalyzer vending machines in bars in the Albuquerque area, including at Kelly's Brew Pub in Nob Hill. Now with 4 quarters, you can basically test how much alcohol you have in your system. Barfield says people have used the machines a total of about 700 times in the past 2 months.
It's new. I had never seen it before, so I thought, it'd be a great idea.
All right, Barfield is a Bernalillo County firefighter, but he says he's doing this on his own time as a side business. He plans to donate, he says, 10% of the end of the year, at the end of the year, to the Firefighters Burn Treatment Fund. That's a nonprofit. He says he will give it to the New Mexico Burn Center at UNMH. All right, if you don't like to wear a seatbelt, then you can expect to get a ticket this weekend. The New Mexico Department of Transportation says authorities are going to be tracking down anyone caught without a seatbelt. There will be increased patrols throughout the weekend as part of the Click It or Ticket campaign. About 2/3 of people killed in car crashes in New Mexico were not wearing seatbelts. There will be more water this year for pecan and chili farmers in southern New Mexico. The Bureau of Reclamation says it will release water from Cabrillo Reservoir starting Sunday when irrigation season officially begins. Then Tuesday, water will be released from Elephant Butte. Farmers in southern New Mexico who depend on the river are expected to receive about 6 inches of water to irrigate each acre. That is nearly double from what they got last year, but it's still only a fraction of a full allotment. Time right now is 6:38. If you've been looking for something to do this weekend, you might want to head on over to Santa Fe. The Native Treasures Indian Art Festival will be happening both Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4. Tickets are only $10 on Saturday, and get this, it's free on Sunday. The festival will be held at the Santa Fe Community Convention Center, which is on